All right, everyone, we have some unique science news here, link in the description, archived, of course, talking about the concept of actually getting electricity from rain. The idea is that you would have a bunch of little tubules, only a couple of millimeters wide, actually, and rain drips down them from a gutter, I would assume, or something like that, and then goes into a pan, so to speak, and this pan is capable of actually removing the charge from the rain. That is, that the tubules create a charge within the rainwater, and then it goes into the pan, and it is then removed. And so during a rainstorm, you can get electricity from it. It's not an enormous amount, but it is relatively efficient, actually, for small purposes. If you had an array of these on your house in a climate where there was a considerable amount of rain, you could therefore get a considerable amount of electricity, and you're not wasting any water or anything like that. You've simply built up a charge due to I believe it's hydrolysis, if I remember correctly. And after that, it is then removed by the metal pan in which it falls, and you can get electricity from it. This is a very, very unique idea, and it's one that should definitely be explored more. If it can be used on a larger scale, it would actually be pretty great because, again, you're not wasting any water. The water is still going into the ground anyway. You might as well generate some electricity from it while it's falling. That's great. Here's the problem. These tubules and the entire setup require resources. And this is really the problem. One of the main problems of energy production is that even if it is efficient and otherwise green, for instance, let's say solar panels, it requires the use of fossil fuels to actually manufacture the materials that are made to create that additional electricity. For example, a solar panel, it requires battery systems, so we're talking mining lithium. It requires silicon, that requires mining. It requires the creation of glass and plastics and so forth. So it's not really green energy when you think about it. It's renewable in the sense that the amount of energy input is less than the amount of energy output, but it takes a significant amount of time for actually getting there. The same, I believe, unfortunately, would be true from rain electrical power. It's very, very inventive. It's something that should be explored. If it can become more efficient, it should definitely be something that is used. But we're also talking about a relatively low amount of electricity. An array of these was capable of powering about a dozen LED lights. That's great in an emergency situation. Okay, it's raining out, the power went out, we at least have light. That's great. There is absolutely nothing wrong with this, and it sounds like it would be relatively cheap to install such a system, assuming that you have a home that has rain gutters, of course. If you installed five or six of them, you might even be able to use a hot plate or something like that. That would be great. As somebody who has survived on MREs during power outages, yeah, it would have been nice if there had been like brownout mode levels of power. Just enough to have a light bulb going and a hot plate. That would have been nice. It would have been great. Unfortunately, it wasn't installed at the time. But the idea is novel. It's actually a great idea when you think about it. Apparently, they tried testing it before, and the tests had failed. What they figured out is that you had to reduce the actual size of the tubules, and then you could generate that charge, and then you could extract it with a metal pan, basically. The other problem is that it wouldn't work for some people in the world because there's not a whole lot of rain. Or there's like a rainy season, okay, it works then, but what about during the dry season? We went 2 months without any precipitation. It's not going to generate any electricity. Also, I would think that such a system would be easily damaged. I think that it would be ultimately, unless they advance the technology further, relatively inefficient. Very novel, very fun, a good idea on paper, something that should be explored. Certainly, there should be a research grant for this sort of thing because, you're not doing any environmental damage and you're getting electricity out of it. That sounds like a win-win to me. That being said, though, if it's that inefficient and not really going to work, 9 times out of 10 anyway, uh, because it's probably not raining, it could be a bit of a problem. Now you install it in like the rainier coast side of the UK or something like that, well, you could probably power the whole grid. But if you put it up in Arizona, it, that might not work so well. They might want solar panels a little bit more. I have a feeling that we're moving towards a world with a fusion energy system and not microfusion, not actual fusion. Fusion as in there are going to be multiple types of energy development that have to coexist on the same grids. So Arizona will be a lot of solar. Florida will have a lot of wind. Vermont will have, I don't know, I guess rainwater electricity probably. It rains a lot here, and so forth. If only they could take snow and turn that into electricity. If anyone finds that, they'll have the holy grail of the whole state of Vermont and the whole tri-state area, and upstate New York for that matter as well. It would be very, very funny. But it's an interesting scientific article. It's a good idea. It's actually something that they should look into. It's just, it's going to take a lot more development, a lot more efficiency for it to be really workable. Because otherwise, these things, they're going to get damaged all the time. Bugs will try to nest in them and weird shit like that. You'll have like leaf debris and stuff in the tubules. And so they'll get clogged up. And really, the efficiency over time in a laboratory setting, which is sterile, it makes more sense. In an outdoor setting, I don't know how this really translates to making enough energy to really be worth creating the system in the first place. I'm sure that they can figure out a methodology by which to prevent these problems from happening, but it'll take years. Exciting technology? Yes. Useful technology at the moment? Unfortunately, no. That's about all. Peace out.